You have been taught that honesty is a virtue, and it is. But there is a version of honesty that has been quietly destroying you, and nobody has had the courage to name it. It is the compulsion to be understood, the need to explain yourself, to correct assumptions, to make sure everyone in the room knows exactly who you are, what you want, and where you are going. And here is what that compulsion has cost you. Your most ambitious goals, dead before they could breathe, killed not by your enemies, but by the words you used to describe them before they were ready. Your most powerful moves, telegraphed to the very people who would have blocked them, handed over freely. Wrapped in your own transparency, you did not lose because you were not good enough. You lost because you talked. Machiavelli understood this in a way that still makes modern strategists uncomfortable. He did not say, be dishonest. He said, Diedris tar. Understand the relationship between information and power, and never give away more of one than absolutely necessary to protect the other. Robert Greene took that same truth 5 centuries later and made it Law 3 of the 48 Laws of Power. Conceal your intentions not as deception, but as strategy. And today, we are going to dismantle exactly why you keep violating this law, what it is costing you, and how to stop. This is Ella Nara, where logic meets the soul. If this is your first time here, you are exactly where you need to be. Subscribe and hit the bell. We go where most channels are afraid to. Before we go further, drop this in the comments right now. Think of one goal you announced before it was ready, and what happened to it. Just one word is enough. I want to see how many of us have been here. Here is something you have felt but probably never had language for. You set a goal, a real one, the kind that lives in your chest, not just your head, and then you told someone, and in the telling, something shifted. It felt like excitement. It felt like accountability. It felt like momentum. But what it actually was a leak. The moment you vocalize a goal, your brain does something that psychologists have been studying for decades. It releases dopamine, as if the goal is already partially achieved. Your identity updates. You have told the world who you are becoming, and your brain, which cannot distinguish between the announcement and the achievement, rewards you anyway. And that reward quietly steals the hunger you needed to do the actual work. You have already tasted the feeling of being the person who has done the thing. Why suffer through becoming them? Machiavelli saw this not as weakness, but as predictability, and predictability in his world was a death sentence. He watched princes announce military campaigns before the troops were assembled, watched men declare alliances before they were secured, watched ambition after ambition die, not for lack of intelligence or resources, but for lack of discretion. He wrote about a ruler who wanted desperately to be seen as decisive and visionary, so he announced every move publicly before making it. His enemies, fed by his own words, were always ready. He was never surprised, but he was always countered. Machiavelli's observation was surgical. The prince had confused performing power with possessing it, and in 2026, that confusion is everywhere. Build in public, they say. Let people see your process. They say share your journey, they say. And while you are busy performing ambition for an audience, someone who said nothing built everything. Robert Greene did not invent Law 3. He crystallized something that every strategically powerful person throughout history understood intuitively: conceal your intentions. And the reason this law is so consistently violated is because concealment feels uncomfortable to people who have been raised to equate transparency with integrity. But Greene and Machiavelli are not talking about lying. They are talking about something far more sophisticated: strategic ambiguity. There is a critical difference between being secretive, which signals that you have something to hide, and being strategically ambiguous, which signals that you are not obligated to make yourself legible to everyone. Secretive says, I am hiding. Strategic ambiguity says, I choose who gets access to my intentions, and most people do not qualify. Machiavelli described this as the quality of the fox, the ability to recognize traps, which the lion by nature cannot do, and to navigate around them not through force, but through misdirection. When you are strategically ambiguous, you are not lying about where you are going. You are simply allowing people to fill the silence with their own projections. And their projections are almost always wrong. And wrong projections are your greatest competitive advantage. Because while your competitor is preparing for the move they think you are about to make, you're executing the move they never considered. While the person who doubts you is formulating their argument against the version of your plan they think they understand, your real plan is already 3 stages ahead of their argument. Greene writes that the most effective practitioners of this law give just enough information to be visible, but never enough to be predictable. They maintain presence without transparency. They are known to you but not knowable. And that gap between being known and being knowable is where all the real power lives. Tell me honestly in the comments, is there someone in your life right now whose opinion of you is completely wrong? And is that wrong opinion actually working in your favor? Think carefully before you answer. Here is a technique that the most strategically silent people in history used without ever naming it. Let people celebrate your minor milestones or mourn your apparent failures while you are quietly targeting something so much larger that if they knew, they would not believe it anyway. This is the false horizon. You give people a destination to watch, close enough to be believable, visible enough to satisfy their need to understand you, but small enough that it conceals the real objective entirely. Their attention locks onto the visible target, and while it does, you move. Machiavelli described a version of this in his analysis of Cesare Borgia, one of the most ruthlessly effective political operators of the Renaissance. Borgia allowed his enemies to believe he was consolidating one territory, making the political noise of that consolidation very public, while simultaneously and silently negotiating the acquisition of something far more strategically valuable. His enemies prepared to contest the visible target. By the time they realized the real objective, it was already secured. The false horizon is not about grand deception. It is about understanding that most people's attention is finite, and if you give them something to watch, they will watch it and stop looking for what you're actually doing. In your life, this looks like letting people think your small project is your main focus, while your real work happens somewhere they are not looking. It looks like allowing a conversation about your apparent plateau, while your actual trajectory is accelerating in a direction nobody knows to look for. It looks like not correcting someone who thinks they have figured you out, because their certainty that they understand you is the exact cover you need. Greene reinforces this with a concept he returns to throughout the 48 Laws. The idea that people are most dangerous when they think they are safe, and the way to make someone think they are safe is to give them a version of you that feels complete, a version they do not feel the need to look behind. Identify one goal you are currently over-explaining to people who have not asked. Write down what you would gain if you simply stopped explaining it, and for the next 7 days, say nothing about it to anyone, and observe what shifts. Now, let's talk about what happens inside you when you stop performing your ambition for an audience, because this is the part that changes everything. When you no longer have to manage other people's understanding of your journey, something extraordinary happens to your decision-making. It becomes clean. You stop making choices based on what looks impressive and start making choices based on what works. And those are 2 profoundly different operating systems. The person building for an audience makes decisions based on optics, on what fits the narrative they have publicly committed to, on what will be understood and validated by the people watching. The person building in silence makes decisions based purely on outcome, even when the decision looks counterintuitive, even when it looks like failure, even when nobody understands it. Machiavelli was obsessed with this distinction. He called it the difference between the prince who governs by fortune, by the external circumstances and perceptions of others, and the prince who governs by virtue, by internal strength and strategic clarity. The prince who governs by fortune, Machiavelli argued, is always vulnerable, because fortune changes, and when the external validation disappears, the prince has no internal architecture to stand on. The prince who governs by virtue is unmovable, not because nothing changes around them, but because their direction is not determined by what is happening around them. They are not reactive. They are deliberate, and deliberate people, in a world of reactive people, are almost impossible to stop. Here is where the social discomfort enters, and it will enter, because being strategically misunderstood is not comfortable. When people project false narratives onto you, when they think they understand your motivations and they are wrong, there is a very human urge to correct them, to explain, to clarify, to defend. And like every skill, it is built through practice. Drop this in the comments. What is something you stopped explaining to people? And what changed when you stopped? This is where the real conversation happens. Everything we have talked about leads here, because strategic ambiguity is not about permanent invisibility. It is about controlled reappearance. And the reveal, when executed correctly, is not a moment. It is a market shock. Machiavelli wrote about the prince who maintained ambiguity throughout. His campaign, who said nothing, deflected. Everything allowed his enemies to believe they were ahead until the moment his position was so consolidated, so self-sustaining, that revealing it was not an announcement, it was a demonstration. There is a profound and devastating difference between those two things. An announcement says, I have done something. Please validate it. A demonstration says, I have already done something, and your reaction is irrelevant. The announcement invites response. It opens the door for doubt, criticism, counterpositioning. The demonstration closes the door. By the time anyone can respond, the thing already exists, already works, already cannot be undone. Greene identifies this as the moment of maximum strategic advantage. As when the reveal creates what he calls a fait accompli, a completed fact, something so fully realized that opposition becomes logistically impossible. Your competitors cannot react to something that is already finished. Your doubters cannot undermine something that is already standing. Your critics cannot reframe something that is already undeniable. And the psychological devastation of a perfectly timed reveal goes beyond the achievement itself. The people who doubted you, the ones who thought they understood your trajectory and wrote you off, are not just surprised. They are recalibrated. They now understand that they never knew what you were doing. And if they never knew what you were doing then, they cannot be certain they know what you are doing now. You have permanently changed the way they perceive you, from someone they thought they could predict to someone they now know they cannot. And that shift is permanent. Write down your real objective, the one nobody knows about, the one you have been afraid to even write down because seeing it on paper makes it feel too large. Write it, seal it, give it a reveal date, a specific date when this becomes undeniable. And between now and that date, practice saying nothing, not because you're hiding, but because you are building. Machiavelli spent the last years of his life misunderstood, politically exiled, intellectually dismissed, personally disgraced. The man who had spent his career studying power ended his career without it. And yet, 500 years later, his ideas are more relevant, more studied, more applied than almost any political thinker in recorded history. He was misunderstood in his time, and that misunderstanding became his legacy. So let me leave you with this. The people who are currently misreading you, the ones who think they know where you are going and they are wrong, they are not your problem. They are your cover. Let them watch the wrong horizon. Let them prepare for the wrong move. Let them write the wrong story about who you are and where you are headed. Because when the reveal comes, and it will come, the distance between what they expected and what you actually built, that distance is your power. Now, 3 things before you go. 1, drop in the comments who in your life is currently watching the wrong horizon. You do not have to use names, just tell me the situation. 2, share this video with someone who is over-explaining themselves to people who are not worthy of the explanation. They need to hear this. 3, subscribe to Ellen Nara. Next week, we go even deeper into the specific psychology of perception management and how to use it in your daily life without becoming someone you do not recognize. You are not failing. You are not stuck. You are not behind. You are building. And the most dangerous thing you can do right now is let them find out when it is already too late to stop you.